Let's get started about why so many lose at chess, and the first reason is not focusing on one opening at a time. One of the most common habits that quietly destroys a player's long-term progress is switching openings too often. You play the Italian game on game 1, the Scandinavian on the second game, and the Queen's Gambit the third game. On the surface, it feels like variety is good. And yes, in advanced levels, being flexible is a strength. But early on, this habit becomes a trap because it leads to shallow knowledge in everything and mastery in nothing. If you don't go deep in one opening, you never get to understand the why behind each move. Sure, you might memorize 6 or 7 moves from a YouTube video or opening book. But what happens when your opponent plays something slightly different on move 5? You're already out of prep, and now you're guessing. And when you're guessing, you're losing. Ask yourself honestly, how many openings do you know so well that even by move 15, you're still confident about where each piece belongs? That means you know the right squares, the plans, the pawn breaks, the traps to watch for, and the middle game ideas that follow. Most players can't say that about even one opening. They hop around looking for something new every few games, thinking the problem is the opening itself, when in fact the problem is depth. Sticking with one opening forces you to learn pattern recognition, pawn structure theory, and typical tactical themes specific to that system. Over time, this creates confidence. You stop fearing the first 10-15 moves because you know what you're doing. You're not reacting, you're dictating. And the benefit goes beyond just the opening phase. When you study one opening deeply, your middle game improves automatically. Because you're always reaching similar positions, you start noticing recurring plans. You see how certain piece trades work out, which pawn breaks open up the game in your favor, and which pieces become monsters on specific squares. You're not just playing chess anymore. You're playing your kind of chess. So instead of flirting with 5 different openings, marry one. Pick an opening system and stick to it for 100 games. Study your wins, your losses, the traps, the transpositions, and the move order tricks. You'll feel the shift the next time you play it, because this time, you'll actually know what you're doing. The second reason is using chess engines while playing. This one is a silent killer of growth. A lot of players open an engine while playing casual games, thinking it will teach them faster. But here's the truth. If you're letting Stockfish think for you, you're not thinking at all. Engines are powerful, yes, but they're not teachers. They show what's best, not why it's best. So if you're copying engine moves without understanding them, you're just memorizing shapes without knowing the meaning. What's worse is the dependence. Over time, your brain stops calculating. You play moves and just check them afterward. That's not learning. That's outsourcing your growth. It's like having a calculator do your math homework. You'll get the right answer, but you'll fail the test. Use engines after games. That's when you're calm, reflective, and ready to analyze. Ask why your move was wrong. Look at multiple lines. Explore what-if scenarios. That's how you learn with the engine, not from it. Number 3. Over-consuming chess content without application. You can watch every Gotham chess video ever made. You can binge on Hikaru streams, read opening theory books, and solve hundreds of puzzles. But if you never actually apply what you've learned in serious games, you're just a collector of knowledge, not a better player. Chess improvement isn't about how much you know, it's about how much you can execute under pressure. So, if your knowledge never makes it onto the board, it's useless. This happens because consuming content feels productive, but it's also passive. Your brain isn't making decisions, it's watching someone else do it. That creates fake confidence. You feel smart until it's your turn to play, and suddenly, nothing clicks. The fix? Flip the ratio. For every hour of video, play 2 real games. For every tactic solved, look for that same pattern in your past games. Turn knowledge into instinct. That's how theory becomes practice, and practice becomes power. Number 4. Playing just to not lose instead of playing to win. It sounds safe, logical even. Just avoid blunders, don't risk too much, play it solid. But this mindset leads to passive, fearful chess. And fearful chess always loses, because it never fights back. When you play not to lose, your pieces don't create pressure. You avoid tactical complications. You play with the emergency brake on. And that gives your opponent all the space, and all the time to build an attack. One of the greatest reminders of this truth was Mikhail Tal, the magician from Riga. He didn't become world champion by playing it safe. Tal was famous for sacrificing material, creating chaos, and pushing the limits of calculation. Many of his combinations were objectively unsound, but they worked. Why? Because he played to win, and his opponents were terrified of his aggression. they cracked under pressure. Tal once said, "You must take your opponent into a deep dark forest where 2 + 2 = 5, and the path leading out is only wide enough for one." That's what happens when you play to win. You create problems your opponent has to solve, and most won't solve them. Start asking, "What's my idea?" on every move. Are you aiming to seize space, control a file, or pressure a weak pawn? If not, you're probably just waiting to lose. Tal didn't wait. He forced the game into his territory. And if you want to stop losing, you have to do the same. Number 5. Fear of losing blocks your progress. They say you lose because you're afraid to lose. And it's true. When you have a strong idea on the board but hesitate to take the risk, you lose the chance to seize the advantage. Chess is a game of calculated risks, and playing it safe too often means missing opportunities. Ask yourself, why are you afraid to lose in the first place? Is it the frustration of defeat or a lack of confidence? That fear creates a mental barrier, making you play passive moves instead of bold ones. But growth comes from embracing uncertainty and daring to push your plans forward. Players who overcome this fear start playing with conviction. They accept that losing is part of learning, and only then do they truly improve. Number 6. Treating Blitz as real practice. Blitz is fun, but it creates bad habits that silently bleed into your classical games. Fast time controls teach you to rely on pattern memory, not calculation. You stop thinking in depth. You stop analyzing. Blitz rewards intuition, but it punishes depth. And while intuition is important, it's not enough. If all your games are the minutes with 0 increment or 5 minutes with 0 increment, your brain is never learning to slow down and calculate accurately. Use Blitz as a reward, not a teacher. Play slower games 15 minutes with 10 seconds increment or 30 minutes with 0 increment. Think out loud. Analyze your games. That's where real improvement lives. If Blitz is all you play, you're not practicing chess. You're practicing speed. Number 7. Playing without a warm-up. Would you sprint a 100-meter race without stretching? No. But most players hop into a 30-minute rated game without solving a single puzzle or reviewing a single idea. And then they wonder why they blunder early. Your brain is a machine. It needs calibration. Without a warm-up, you miscalculate tactics, forget opening prep, and miss basic threats. Before any serious game, do this. Solve 3 tactics. Review 1. Opening line and play a 3-minute unrated blitz for rhythm. You'll be sharper by move 1, and that edge adds up over time. Number 8. Not reviewing wins, only losses. Everyone says, review your losses, but few tell you to study your wins. And that's a mistake, because your wins hide just as many errors. Maybe you missed a forced mate. Maybe your opponent missed a win, and you never knew. When you skip reviewing wins, you let bad habits sneak in. You assume that because I won, I played well. But often, you didn't. You just got away with it. Wins are golden opportunities to find your hidden mistakes. Learn from them while the memory is fresh. You'll be shocked at how many games you should have lost. Number 9. Trying to fix too many weaknesses at once. One day you're working on endgames, the next, you're diving into pawn structures, then tactics, then strategy. But in trying to fix everything, you improve nothing. Because improvement is focused, real. Growth happens when you obsess over one weakness at a time. That's how you see progress. That's how you isolate patterns and fix them permanently. Pick one skill, one idea, one type of position. Train it for 2 weeks straight. Become scary. Good at it, then move on. That's how you climb. Number 10. Emotional tilt after a loss. Most people think losing in chess is just part of the game, and while that's true, what they don't realize is how destructive the emotional aftermath of a loss can be. When you lose badly or blunder in a winning position, your ego doesn't just take a small hit, it often goes into panic mode. And that emotion follows you into the next game. This is what chess players call tilt. The problem is that tilt doesn't announce itself. It disguises itself as urgency. You feel like you need to redeem yourself quickly to prove the last game was a fluke. So you queue up another match right away. But now, your brain is emotionally charged. You're less focused, more impulsive, and hyper-focused on winning instead of playing well. That's when you start hanging pawns, skipping calculation, steps, and misjudging threats. One of the most dangerous forms of tilt is revenge chess, where you rematch the same opponent over and over, trying to get even. Every time you lose again, the frustration multiplies. You start deviating from your usual opening or trying risky sacrifices to force a win. Ironically, the more you chase the win, the further you move away from good chess. It becomes emotional chess. and emotional chess is losing chess. High-level players take losses with discipline. When they lose, they pause. They review the game. They take a walk. They do something that isn't chess. That's because they understand that your mental state is part of your rating. Playing while tilted is like playing drunk. You're not thinking straight, even if you believe you are. Tilt doesn't just hurt one game. It often ruins entire sessions or tournaments. It leads to losing streaks that can kill confidence for days. What could have been a single loss becomes a slump because it wasn't contained. So the real skill isn't avoiding losses. It's learning how to respond to them rationally. Next time you lose a tough game, try this. Don't click rematch. Instead, go back and look at the moment it fell apart. Look for the first move that was played on emotion rather than calculation. Then stop. Breathe. Do nothing for 5 minutes. Only return to the board when you've reset. That's not weakness. That's strength.